Hello everyone, we're going to be looking at drawing a tiger this morning. Please ignore the vertical white stripes. I have no idea why the printer did that. It's one of those things. I'm going to be working just in charcoal, so it'll be a really strong black and white image. I've got cartridge paper to start off with. I'm going to need a putty rubber, and then I've got charcoal in various different forms, from pencil to stick, and that's a compressed stick, well that's a natural stick. I also have a fine natural stick as well. I have a few different pencils, different manufacturers in charcoal. Please make sure that your pencil is nice and sharp with a good point on the end. Use a sanding block or a nail file to get that point. I also have as extra some blending tools, so I've got a cardboard pencil and a brush, and as an extra bit of rubber option I've got a Mono Zero, which can be really good for animal hair, especially like this. But do make sure you have a spare bit of paper just to clean that off. Now you can see already I'm splattering charcoal over my clean piece of paper. Not too worried about it, it's going to get a lot dirtier before it gets better. So let's get going. Just put those down there. Right, let's get into this. So first things first, we have to look at the reference image, which is by George DESIPRIS. Amazing royalty-free image here. And I would recommend that if you have got the image, to draw some basic guidelines. So I'm drawing a guideline through the centre of the face, and I'm also looking at the halfway point. So if I imagine the head is going to be a circle, roughly the halfway point is going to be here. And I'm looking at that curve that the eye is sitting on, so you can see that slight angle. That will make life a lot easier. I just want to check how much to the left is equal to the right, and there's a little bit more to the right but not much, and that will help with my measuring. Okay, so I'm taking the fine natural charcoal, and I'm doing this because it means that the line will be much softer and easier to get rid of. And I'm going to put in those marks that I've just generated. Okay. Now you can use it on a point, or you can use the charcoal on its side as I'm doing. It's completely up to you and what you prefer. And then I'm going to give myself a rough boundary to be working in, making sure that I'm not going to fall off the paper, so I'm giving myself a little bit extra on either side. Then I know that that's roughly should be halfway up that circle. I'm going to bring that down a little bit more, and then I'm going to start plotting everything in. So let's start off with the basics, which is going to be this nose. It curves at the top, and it's a little bit more straighter down the part of the face. I'm going to just move that over, straighten that up. From the nose, I know that the eyes are going to be sitting above, like so, because he's got quite a long nose. Now I'm going to just check out that nose, and I can see that the eye should be more to the right, and that looks pretty good, that eye. You can see this shape here, which is what we're going to draft in to start off with. And that'll help lead you with the eye position, specifically this one on the right hand side. Okay, then I'm going to just have a look at the nose and see how many of those go in before I hit the eye. Just check my measurements are correct, that's about right. So if I go one nose turned 90 degrees, you should be running at the top of the eyes. See, I am, which is good. They're going to end up with the face coming out around here, coming up to the head, this side coming out as well. And then I'm going to have an ear roughly on here. And I've got this other ear. I'm looking at the relationship with the eye. Seeing size, the shape and the position. And it's got a little bit more hair coming out around. You've got the chin sitting underneath. Okay, and that side of the face is up high. That bit comes in high. This is the main centre part. And then we're going to have the neck coming down here. And then you've got extra hair, the mane just poking out and around. Now at the moment he looks like a cartoon cat. Right, at the moment he's looking like a cartoon cat, but that's fine. It's just, you know, we're thinking, we're laying everything out. Then once we're happy with that, I'm going to come in with a charcoal pencil and start refining some detail. I personally prefer starting off at the nose, but you can start anywhere you want. You could do the eyes if you want to. I'm still not kind of perfect, but we're looking at roughly getting things in the right place and checking the scales. Always keep questioning your initial drawing decision to ensure that you're accurate. So, right, at the bottom of the mouth, around here, we're going to have the lines, and with the Taiga it's particularly handy to put the lines in because you can check that everything is where it should be and that you've got enough space. You can look at this point sitting underneath the eye. Bulbous. Let's get this eye in over here then. Now with the cats, just like dogs, the eyes are much more circular than humans, so keep an eye on that. Check that you're not making them too almond-esque. It's the skin that's black around it that's making it look almond, but the actual eyeball is quite round. And again, you could start drawing in these patterns. Still keeping it fairly loose. Work the big sections of the patterns up first. Look at the negative space between the pattern that you can see and check that you've got the right kind of spacing. You can see this black line comes into the second black line down, which is here. Got that pattern, and then there's another one just arcing over. Just going to be very up into the head. You can already see the jump that it's starting to create, so let's work on the other side now. let's go and get these tones in, shall we? So for the tones, now the compressed is going to go really dark. You can already see the darkness of the pencil compared to the initial drawing lines, where the natural charcoal will be a little bit softer. I'd recommend going in with a natural if you've got that option first, and then going into it with the compressed in either a stick form or pencil form. Let's just get the guidelines out using the putty rubber. Okay. So let's do something which I don't usually allow people to do. There's going to be some finger rubbing. I imagine a few of you are rubbing your hands with joy at this moment of time, but I would take a little bit of your charcoal and start working it up. So I'm going to first of all get this patination in for the main structure. Remember, the black is going to be the darkest, you've got the white of the paper, and then you're going to have various tones of grey for these auburn hair tones. So for the softer grey tones, use your fingers. Okay. Bring it up and bring it in. Be careful, try not to get onto the areas that you want really light and white. And work some of these softer tones of auburn in to start off with. Okay, it should be looking something like that, where we're paying particular attention to the dark shadow on the right hand side of the base. You can see I've put the shadow in just roughly in here, and I've started to work it out. Now I need to just be careful because I've got areas of white paper that I think I'm covering up a little bit too much. So I'm just going to go in with my putty rubber and lift it out to make sure that I'm not going too dark too quickly. So for instance, this bit over there on the left hand side above the eye, if you take a rubber, it's a standard rubber, you should be able to remove more of the charcoal than if you were just using a putty rubber. I'm putting a little bit of tone just underneath the eye. And because I moved the eye across, I'm just going to try and lift out that initial error drawing. Okay. I just want to check the width in relationship to the height. So if I go from just underneath the nose where the mouth starts to my eye line, and then I come up from my eye line. Okay, from my eye to there. So, from here to here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I was a little bit worried that I'm going a bit too wide. I'm just going to check the left hand side. I am going a bit too wide. Thought that might be the case. I'm going to just take out some of that. Pin that down. I've worked that with the drawing. Right, I'm going to take my charcoal pencil and start building up the refined areas of detail now. Yeah, just smudge in a nose tone. Could use a tool if you feel like you want something very controlled. Like so. use a brush. Just lift off a little bit of the charcoal if you want to smooth it out and have it not so hard. Soften that out on a blending tool. And create some hair-like texture with my blending tool from the direction I'm using. You'll find a blending tool is very handy for just softening off the crispness of the darker tones of charcoal and blending the edge to make it look much more natural. Take off a little bit of this tone, it's a bit too dark. Right, it's just taking that out. And you might find it's easy for some of the slight glowy tone that you want to achieve to use a normal rubber within the eyeball. It's not a hard white, but it's a very soft, gentle tone of grey. And there is a bit more of a crisper highlight just on this bottom part of the eye. You can also see a little bit of highlight on the skin sitting underneath the eye. Right, let's just work those off, soften them down. Now you could use your fingers, you could use a cotton wool blad, you could go into it with a blending tool. There's a few different types on the market. You've got rubber ones, you've got cardboard ones, such as the one I'm using here. It's completely up to you. I would recommend usually trying a few different ones because you'll find that one particularly jumps out at you and feels more comfortable, and they all give slightly different effects. Depending on which type of charcoal, whether you're going for the compressed or whether you're going to be going for something like more of a natural charcoal. So do try a few. So here I'm actually drawing the orange tones in the shadow behind, and I'm going to try and leave the white of the paper. I'm flicking into the paper to give you an idea. Pointed lines to mimic fur. You see here, I'm using that to draw into and trying to leave patches. Now, the blending tool is cross-contaminated with quite a lot of charcoal at this stage. So that means that when you do use it, you're going to get grey, dark lines. It'll be very handy for this type of effect. smudge that darker tone that I've got to need on the ear. It's all about pressure. And I'm going to use my putty rubber just to take off the excess around the edge. He's looking more cat-like, isn't he? You can see on that right hand side it's really, the patination is very powerful in the illusion of the contours of the face. So you've got to get those correct for this to work. Let's work on the other side and see how it all comes together. You can see that eye's still too high. Let's have a look at the reference image. Yeah, it should be pretty even. Right down here. Yeah. Now watch out for these white whiskers. Obviously they're going to be a problem because you haven't got any white medium to work in. So you need to use the white of the paper to represent the whiskers, and then you usually draw around it. You can take a fine rubber, make sure it's nice and clean, and sometimes draft them in. It depends on how strong you've gone. I think I've gone a bit too strong for this to work. So it's literally going to have to be exaggerating a little bit of tone. Bring that shadow underneath the chin. You can use your fingers if you wanted to, it's up to you, or you can use a tool. It's completely down to you and how far you want to take this and how you want to work it now. You've got the bare bones idea hopefully for what you want to do and how to do it at this point. Okay, how's that looking? So if you want to, you can leave the background white, or you could put in an overall tone. It's good with the ears because it will just throw it forward. So if you just go for something quite soft, and I'm using a natural willow charcoal here, put it in, leave a little bit of an aura around him, or her, and then get a piece of kitchen roll and work the kitchen roll into the background. There you go, a rough taiga, just to keep you going. So it's patchy and slightly out of focus. It has to come right up to the head, so you're taking out that aura shade.